कैमल को नहीं चलता है।
Impeccable.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहागना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्. Okay, just give me 10 seconds. I need to take one medicine. Okay, uh, today we are almost coming towards the end of Adi Leela. There are 4 chapters remaining. 14th chapter speaks about childhood pastimes, like during the age 0 to around 4.5. Um, Balya Leela, where till the time, like till the first year, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was only on the lap of his mother. Then he started walking, he started stealing and um, going to the Ganga and various other pastimes. Till he started writing with the chalk, um, um, till he started his education, it is childhood pastimes. And then age 5 to 10 are his pastimes where Poganda Leela. Both we will cover today because they are short chapters. The reason they are short, every pastime that we will discuss, we will just see one verse on them. Um, um, there are chapters and chapters and chapters in Chaitanya Bhagavat for each pastimes. So Chaitanya Bhagavat is expansive, and this is what it mainly deals with. And because the post sannyas pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are more prominent and instructive, uh, and because they have not been mentioned in detail by Vrindavan Das Thakur, Madhya Leela starts with post sannyas. Next week, we will see the youth pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. So 14, 15 we will cover today, and 16, 17th. 16th is short. We will take one session on 16th and maybe one or two on 17th. Then we can go to post sannyas pastimes. Okay. So first there are obeisances and prayers. This is one of the very uh, prominent prayers that devotees love to recite. Um, just the translation here. Things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if one somehow or other simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have so many uh, um, desires, attachments that kind of hinder our entrance into receiving the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And because of these, the obstacles in this path of bhakti, we saw the obstacles, gross obstacles, uh, prajalpa, other form of worship, then subtle obstacles, lust, envy, pride, ego, anger, then more subtle, duplicitous behavior, where one is trying to be a devotee but is cultivating material desires internally. More subtle obstacles, one wants to be recognized. Uh, so all these in and crossing all over and receiving pure devotional service, how many road blockers, how difficult it is. So things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if one somehow or other simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For this reason, we are discussing about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because we want to receive his mercy. If we remember him, if we have faith in him, If we depend on Him, if we pray to Him, if we develop some relationship with Him, then all the obstacles we we would be able to cross over if we depend on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Karuna Avatar, uh, Parama Karuna. But if one does not remember Him, even easy things becomes very difficult. To this Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I offer my respectful obeisances. And uh, okay, uh, in his book Chaitanya Chandramrita, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati says, Prabodhananda Saraswati was a sannyasi. Uh, he has uh, very famous. He is brother of uh, whose brother is Prabodhananda Saraswati? Okay, I'm forgetting. Uh, okay, maybe if it comes to me, I will mention. Um, Born and brought up in Bengal, he wrote Chaitanya Chandramrita, and he also wrote Vrindavan Mahimamrita and many other books. So he writes, one who receives a little favor from the Lord becomes so exalted that he does not even care for liberation sought by great scholars. Great scholars and sannyasis are seeking after liberation, but one can cross over that obstacle if one receives little favor of Lord Chaitanya. Many people are mad after more sense enjoyment, and most of them, because they are working in that direction or desiring those things, they sought after heavenly planets. And if one receives a little favor of Lord Chaitanya, he can cross over that desire, those material desires also. For him, senses are like snakes with broken fangs. Something Srila Prabhupada says, a snake is very fearful and dangerous animal because of his poison fangs. But if those fangs are broken, the appearance of a snake is no cause for fear. The yoga principles are meant to control the senses. So many people are going performing Ashtanga yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, samadhi, and very strenuous process to control the senses. And uh, for one who receives a little favor of Lord Chaitanya, even senses becomes like snakes. Senses are dangerous. Um, they always look for something for their pleasure. Even they behave like a uh, harmless snake. So these all things is possible if one receives a little favor of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everything difficult becomes easy. Um, whether it is hearing, chanting, rendering service, pure desires, everything will fall in place if one receives little mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada says simply by academic qualification it is not possible to write such literature. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, all by himself, all his revered spiritual masters, Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, they have left. He is almost blind, hand is shaking. Mama Manda Matir Gati Mat Sarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madan Mohan. Um, and he has been asked to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and this task is impossible task. And one can not, Prabhupada says, these transcend the literature until Mahaprabhu himself empowers. Even one has knowledge, one cannot write them. Even if we write them, they will not have any transformative effect. So impossible task. And the purpose of writing this book here is because now, from today onwards, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is actually going to describe about Lord Chaitanya. So far, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just appeared. None of his activities are described. So his prayer is, I am remembering you, taking shelter of you. Although the path is very difficult, it will become easy by your mercy. So I can complete this work of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he was not aware how much time he has, and he was depending on the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he can fulfill his mission. Many times he said, I cannot go back right now because my purpose is not yet fulfilled. Um, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhula Kahila Ai, Janma Lila Sutra, Yashodanandana Yaiche, Haila Sachiputra. I have just described in brief the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared as the son of Mother Sachi exactly as Krishna appeared as the son of Mother Yashoda. Very similar. Mother Yashoda, 6 sons died. Sachi Mata, 8 daughters died. Both of them, when Nimai or Krishna was in the womb, demigod would come to offer prayers. Balram appeared before, either as Balram directly or as Vishwarup. Um, um, so, very similar appearance. And when Krishna appeared, um, there is a great description of the whole world became joyful. Similar description, appearance of Lord Chaitanya, everybody became joyful by appearance of the Lord, descent of the Lord. I have already briefly spoken about the pastime of his birth in chronological order. Now I shall give a synopsis of his childhood pastimes, which is from 0 to 5. First, there is name giving ceremony. This happens right after few days. Name giving ceremony, although he has been given few names already. Nimai, so that um, um, Gaura Hari, because he's Gaura and he makes everyone chant Kari. Uh, Gaura is because he was golden in color. Nimai, so that ghost and others would not disturb him, and also because he was born under a neem tree, because they are afraid of neem trees. But the official names giving ceremony has not been performed. It's like these were like the nicknames of Lord Chaitanya. So in his first childhood pastime, the Lord turned upside down while lying on his bed. So this is called Uthan festival. This is one of the samskara of the 14 samskaras, beginning from uh, um, Garbhodhan and other samskara to death ceremony, 14 samskaras. So this comes when the child has born and he turns upside down. In Krishna Lila also this happened, and Mother Yashoda held a great festival. And it is during that festival, while it was going on, Mother Yashoda was very busy and she placed Krishna under the cart, and the cart demon was killed by Krishna. Sakatasura, who represents Bhaktivinoda Thakur says previous bad habits, uh, what we don't want to do, previous attachments, even after we take to the path of devotion, they haunt us. So this is represented by Sakatasura, previous good and bad habits. So, uh, um, so the Lord turned upside down. So upside down means now he can he palti marna, lying on his bed, and thus he showed his parents the marks of his lotus feet. When the Lord tried to walk, in his small footprint the specific marks of Lord Vishnu were visible. It is described because we have concised it. Um, Chakra, Gada, Padma, they all were visible in the sole feet of Lord Chaitanya. Seeing all these marks, neither his father nor his mother could understand whose footprints they were. Now, uh, the Lord tried. Uh, the Lord tried to walk in his small footprints, and the marks were visible on the floor. So far, Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata, the first thing they noticed is there is, you know, when uh, either the uh, um, when one is walking in a mud, or if the feet are wet, so those footprints remains, and in those footprints there were Chakra, Gada, Padma, and other marks of Lord Narayan. Um, Seeing all these marks, father and mother could understand whose footprints could not understand whose footprints they were. Jagannath Mishra said Bal Gopal is with their Shaligram Sheila and is playing in the room. Everything in their home after appearance of Nimai was mystical. They both saw the mark on the floor. Where is it coming from? We don't know. Jagannath Mishra said, because they used to worship Shaligram Shila, we saw it last week. Jagannath Mishra said, Bal Krishna is walking and it is his footprints. Everything was possible at those at that time because the whole their life was so mystical. He would go out, Brahmanas would come, every unexpected thing was happening. So that was their state. Uh, then Nimai woke up and cried. So he was sleeping. He cried while breastfeeding him. Mother Sachi saw on his lotus feet all the marks that were visible on the floor, and she called for Jagannath Mishra. She was amazed to see that this is our own children footmark. Jagannath Mishra, when he saw them, he became joyful. Naturally, every parent wants a qualified child, but to speak about Nilambar Chakravarti, father of Sachi Mata. Jagannath Mishra became joyful and immediately called for Nilambar Chakravarti because if anything is astonishing, at that point of time you call for an astrologer and say, what does this mean? So out of curiosity, Jagannath Mishra called for Nilambar Chakravarti. Something Srila Prabhupada says on Shaligram and Bal Krishna and deity in the purport. When the form of the Lord is carved from wood, stone, or any other element, it is to be understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there. Even logically, we can understand that all material elements are expansions of the energy of the Lord. Some people say that how can the wood or stone or metal be Krishna? So Prabhupada says everything is anyways the energy of the Lord. So the Lord can reciprocate through his energies, and wood, metal, everything is also the energy of the Lord. Since the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not different from his personal body, the Lord is always present in his energy. One argument Prabhupada would say when these reporters don't have faith in deity, how can we worship stone? Why do we worship stone when God is everywhere? And Prabhupada says if God is everywhere, then God is in the stone also. If he's everywhere, why he can't be in the stone? So that was like one of the argument Prabhupada used to give to say or on deity worship because many people were against it at that time. Um, so he is always present in his energy, and everything is the energy of the Lord. And he manifests himself on account of the ardent desire of devotee. This is a real reason. When a devotee invites the Lord, serves the Lord becomes obliged, and the Lords come to our homes to accept service. If we just have a little desire to serve, and that service rendered to the deity form of Lord is so purifying, we may not see the effect of it right away, but just keep rendering service and see what happens. Nilambar Chakravarti, coming back to him, he immediately came, father of Sachi Mata. He saw those marks and he smiled. And he said, Formally, I ascertained all this by astrological calculation and noted it in writing. So um, the feet were not visible. It's only few days now. The child is just born. Like today, when devotee came, he had two daughters. We were kind of. He came to temple first time. He brought the twins. He got a twins. They are like I think a few weeks old, kind of. So they're fully kind of covered in their own trolley and other things. So they didn't notice. And Nilambar Chakravarti from the after 13-month full Purnima astrological calculation, he already noted the divinity of this child. So he smiled and he said, All 32 bodily marks that symptomize a great personality are visible on this child's body. There are 32 marks which defines that this is a great personality. And on the palms and soles, there are symptoms of Lord Narayan. So he is Lord Narayan and he is a great personality. Like when Lord himself appears, um, um, for only for devotees, there or who are like great devotees, some of the 32 bodily marks may be there. But all of them along is like very exalted because the Lord has everything in full. And then there are um, symptoms, there are signs on the soles and the hand. If you search lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, you will see many symbols. Rupa Goswami describes what each symbol means. Then Nilambar Chakrabarti said, further considering the astrological chart, he will deliver the three words, preach the Vaishnav cult. He will deliver his maternal and paternal families. He'll protect and maintain the entire world for this reason. And then Nilambar Chakrabarti said immediately, today is a very auspicious day. Uthan ceremony also. Let's do the Namkaran ceremony. Um, and huge festival. Sachi Mata, Jagannath Mishra, they were from Brahmana family. Um, invited all the Brahmanas worship Lord Narayan, and Nilambar Chakravarti gave the name Vishwambar. Vishwa Ambar, who will maintain the entire universe. Vishwambar. Um, his elder brother name was Vishwaroop, uh, uh, and his official name, signature name, became Vishwambar. Although they would call him by Nimai and many other names, but official name. Srila Prabhupada says we can see that Lord is Vishwambar. And he says after uh, this Krishna consciousness movement, there are thousands of Western disciples who don't earn, yet Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is maintaining them. Thousands and thousands of people are being maintained. So difficult to maintain one family without income. Uh, even a family of four members. But huge temples and thousands of devotees are being maintained. Why? Because the Lord is Vishwambar. He is maintaining. Um, so something that Srila Prabhupada describes the symptoms of great personalities. Large arms. It is said that Lord Chaitanya arms were so big they would go up to his knees. The arms. When he would stand, he can touch his knees. Um, Large eyes, uh, large nose, large chin, and knees. Fine hairs on the body, on the head, uh, um, fine skin, teeth and fingertips, reddish eyes, uh, palms are reddish, lips, upper lower lips are reddish, soles like the palate is reddish, and um, the the bottom of the foot they are reddish. I mean, there are none of the symptoms in me at least. The chest is broad and the voice is grave. So these are maybe 15, 20. There are greater description. When you go, you can see more detail. So there are 32 symptoms of a great personality. um, Prabhupada says an incarnation of Godhead is ascertained by his bodily symptoms, which are these 32 marks, his activities, like Krishna left Govardhan, and we see some activities of Lord Chaitanya, and the prediction of the Shastra, and not whimsically or by words or by votes. In the beginning, his identity was ascertained by great scholar like Nilambar Chakravarti. Even astrological calculations supports it. And later all his activities were confirmed by the six Goswamis and many other learned scholars with evidence from the Shastra. Incarnation of God is such from the very beginning of his life. Some people, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his divinity as we are seeing day one. Likewise, Lord Shri Krishna or Lord Ramchandra. Unlike people, Prabhupada says, who do some meditation and gain some mystic power, and then they say, yes, now I am god. So that is bogus, or this baba or that baba. And one of the quote from Atharva Veda, uh, this Vishwambar name comes there. um, Vishwambara Vishwena Ma Barasa Pahi Swaha. So Prabhupada quotes third canto from Atharva Veda. Okay, so continuing, Nimai eats dirt. After some days, the Lord began to crawl on his knees. So, like, few months, the child can crawl on their knees. Um, and he caused various wonderful things to be seen. Chaitanya Bhagavat. Prabhupada, we get a kind of rasa from Chaitanya Bhagavat by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. The Chaitanya Bhagavat describes that one day while the Lord was crawling upon his knees, the bells on his waist ringing very sweetly, a snake came out to crawl in the yard of the Lord, who captured the snake like a curious child. Um, Immediately the snake coiled over him. The Lord as a child then rested on the snake, and after some time the snake went away, leaving the Lord aside. So these are there is a chapter for this pastime, and there is a chapter for all different pastimes, but Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami just mentions one verse, and many pastimes he didn't even mention because his purpose is Madhya Lila and Antya Lila. That's where he becomes free to expand in detail. So the snake came and he coiled Nimai Pandit and everybody, as you see in the picture, they were shocked and snake is deadly animal, but it was actually Anantashesh who came to play with Nimai. And Nimai can't even walk at this point of time. He was just crawling. He caused all the ladies to chant, even in his childhood. Similar thing during his birth. The Lord caused all the ladies to chant the holy name of Hare Krishna Mahamantra on the plea of his crying, and while they chanted, the Lord would smile. In this way, all the ladies of neighboring houses would assemble in the home of Sachi Mata to join in the Sankirtan movement 24 hours a day. As long as the ladies continued to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the Lord would not cry but would very pleasingly smile upon them. So, through 24 hours a day, Sankirtan was going on in the house of Lord Chaitanya. Somebody or the other would keep coming. Um, then the Lord starts walking, the scrolling. Now he's almost a year. Tabikata dina kaila pada chankramana shishugane mili kaila vivida khelana. Shishugane is friends. Now he got some friends, grown up, um, and he would meet them. Vividha khelana. Vividha means, and he will various kinds of games he would play with his friends. Um, uh, One day, while the Lord was enjoying his playful sports, Mother Sachi brought dish filled with fused rice and sweetmeats for him to eat. But when she returned to her household duties, the child began to eat dirt. She gave him some sweet rice and some laddus and some other sweets. She left, and Nimai Pandit started eating the dirt. Seeing this, Mother Sachi hastily returned. She saw from the window and she saw he's eating dirt. Snatched the dirt from his hand. Mothers are very careful because the children, of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the children have a tendency to eat dirt or whatever comes, they try to put in their mouth. So Sachi Mata immediately returned and snatched the dirt from his hand and asked why he was eating it. Crying, the Lord said, um, why are you angry? What is my fault? Fused rice, sweetmeats, and all other eatables are but transformation of dirt. This is dirt, that is dirt. What is the difference between them? Everything is come from soil. Just the seed and the soil, and there are all everything is transformation of soil basically. Um, um, so when everything is soil, I can eat whatever I want. Everything is one. This is actually a Mayavad philosophy. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right from the very childhood, started preaching. So Sachi Mata defeats Mayavad philosophy. Antale Vishmita Sachi Balila Tohar माटी खाइते ज्ञान yoga. Kesi khaila tor. Who taught you this nonsense? Kesi khaila. Who taught you? Um, um, Astonished that the child was speaking Mayavad philosophy, Mother Sachi replied, "Who has taught you this philosophical speculation that justifies eating dirt? Matira vikar anna khaila deha pushti hai." Matira vikar. Vikar is transformation. If you eat the transformation of mati, which is anna, khaila, if you eat those, deha pushti hai. Pushti is nourished, then the body is nourished. Mati khaile roga hai deha yaya shy. But your body will be shy. It will degrade, disintegrate into dirt, and you will get disease. Rog haya, mati khaile. So if you eat the transformation of dirt, you'll be nourished. If you eat the dirt, you will get disease and disintegrate into dirt. Um, and she gave an example of water pot. Uh, Water pot is made up of mud and water. Um, Water pot is useful, but mud and water is not useful, because with water pot you can carry water, but if you carry water without a water pot, then the mud will just soak the water and nothing will happen. So Mother Sati is trying to convey that this philosophy is not good, although it's a transformation. Um, um, Replying to Mayavad idea of child philosopher, Mother Sati said, "My dear boy, if we eat earth transform into grain, our body is nourished and it becomes strong. But if we eat dirt in its crude state, the body becomes diseased instead of nourished, and thus it is destroyed. Water pot is useful than dirt and water." Chid Nimai Pandit appreciated. "Why didn't you teach me this practical philosophy before? Now that I can understand this philosophy, no more shall I eat dirt. Whenever I am hungry, I shall suck your breast and drink your breast milk." If from the beginning of life one is taught the Vaishnava philosophy of duality or variety, the monistic philosophy will not bother him very much. So Prabhupada said, train your children right in the beginning. Nimai Pandit is trying to say right in the beginning he is giving this philosophy. Um, 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 Supreme Personality of Godhead has a form, that kind of principle. Um, like this Mayavad philosophers, they say everything is one. Um, um, there is a story where Prabhupada was in some regions of some mountainous regions in India, Rishikesh or some holy place. It was very cold, and one of the Prabhupada disciple, he he was sleeping in one room. Prabhupada has to give some lectures, and some Mayavad sannyasis were sleeping in other room. So it was like some Melan kind of thing. All different spiritual teachers they came there. So in the night, one of the American disciple of Prabhupada went into the other room. He was feeling cold and he took the blanket from the Mayava sannyasi. Mayava sannyasi became very angry and he said, um, um, "Give me my blanket back." And Srila Prabhupada disciple took a thread from that blanket and gave it to the sannyasi and he said, "Yeah, take this thread. Um, Everything is the same. The thread is same. Everything is one. The thread is same as this blanket and everything else. So cover your body with the thread." And he took the blanket and left. And he said, "Everything is same, right? So take this thread." So likewise, he became angry and he said, "No, blanket is blanket, thread is thread. Give me my blanket back." And he said, "First accept everything is not the same." First accept that. And Prabhupada next day he laughed and he said, "See, these great Mayavadi sannyasis, my disciple could defeat them, who is just a beginner in Krishna consciousness." That is the power of Krishna consciousness movement. So sometimes there are some such these nice small pastimes where Prabhupada was very Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. Continuing 5 more childhood pastimes. This pastime we are aware of the Lord and Brahmana. अतिथि विप्रेरा अन्ना खाइला तीना बार, पाछे गुप्ता सेई विप्रा करिला निस्तार. He cooked. I am going fast because Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is going fast. But details are mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat, which we have discussed in the past. He cooked. Nimai Pandit came and ate. Upset. Jagannath Mishra scolded the child. Brahmana said, no, no, don't worry. He cooked again. They sent Nimai Pandit to the neighbor's house. Nimai Pandit came again, ate. Hi, hi. Uh, more and more upset. Maybe Lord Vishnu wants me to fast. Late night, Vishwaroop got up. Jagannath Mishra told Vishwaroop that a Brahmana has come to our house. We cannot disrespect him. It's a great offense. Um, if he does not eat in our home, what is the use of our household? Request him to cook once more. Nimai is sleeping, he is with us. Very late night. Vishwaroop requested, gave all the ingredients. They would not, these Brahmanas, they would not eat in anyone's home. Even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not eat in anyone's home who is not a Brahmana. Um, okay. Um, even I heard Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, this is a very interesting fact. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave sannyas to only those who are Brahmanas by birth. He did not give sannyas to others. Um, and one lecture I was hearing that there is a lot of value in that also because um, they have certain qualities. Mm, mm. And there is hardly any instance of uh, the sannyasis who were given sannyas by Saraswati Thakur fell down. Hardly any instances. Um, mm, yeah. So these Brahmanas, they would not eat. Even um, Mahaprabhu was so strict that he would eat only either by Brahmanas or those who chant 1 lakh names. Otherwise, he would not eat. Even in Varanasi, when he would live in the house of Chandrasekhar and Tapan Mishra, because he wanted to please Chandrasekhar, Chandrasekhar invited him to stay at his home. So he would stay at Chandrasekhar, but he would not eat at Chandrasekhar's house. He would go and take his meal in Tapan Mishra's home, who was a Brahmana. So um, um, they so he would not eat what is cooked in Jagannath Mishra's home. Um, they were very strict Brahmanas. They would cook and then they would eat. Otherwise, they would fast. Once again, they arrange all the ingredients. Late in the night, when everybody was asleep, even Vishwaroop and Nimai and Jagannath Mishra, cooked again. And the child came and he started eating when he was offering to Gopal duty. And then the Brahmana was frustrated. He cried. He became little angry also. Then the Gopal said, "What is my fault? You are calling me. You used to come and beg in Nanda Baba's house, and I used to provide. We provided, and you are the same Brahmana who has come for begging here. And every time you offer, I personally come and eat. And you are offering me, I came. What is my fault?" And he revealed his divinity, Karila Nishta, and by revealing his divinity, it is not it is not described what kind of divinity was um, shown by Nimai Pandit, but it's just he was kind of uh, whether he saw Gopal form, we don't know, but just divinity, and he was liberated. And this Brahmana would stay in the house of and would every day come for um, begging and would stay in the same village. Okay. Second pastime is the Lord and two thieves. In his childhood, the Lord was taken away by two thieves outside his home. The Lord, however, got up on the shoulders of the thieves And while they were thinking, they were um, safely carrying the child to rob his ornaments. The Lord misled them, and thus instead of going to their own home, the thieves came back to the house of Jagannath Mishra. So Nimai Pandit was always dressed with lot of gold ornaments, and these two thieves they saw, so they attracted Nimai Pandit, and they said, "Let us go, and we will give you some sweets, some laddus, and some khajas." So Nimai was happy to get a ride. So they took him. Their plan was, we will take him to the deep dense forest, and we will kill him, and then we will rob him. That was their intention. So they took him. On the way, they also Nimai asked, "Where is my sweets?" And then they were like, "Okay," and they fed him also. But by the illusory energy of the Lord, just like imagine you are coming to temple, and then you end up in your own home. How is that possible? Or if I am coming to one of your homes and then I end up in temple, something like that happened. They started going, and they ended up in the same house of Nimai Pandit, and Jagannath Mishra and others were searching. And immediately Jagannath Mishra gave them some gifts, and but the Brahmana ran away. So this is another nice pastime. And then this is Ekadashi day. Pretending to be sick, the Lord asked some food from the house of Hiranya and Jagadish on the Ekadashi day. So one time, Nimai Pandit, he would just uh, crawl and walk, very young. Um, it was Ekadashi, and on Ekadashi, we can fast, but the Lord usually we don't. It's not necessary for Lord to fast. But since there is Prabhupada and there is Mahaprabhu who came as a devotee, we offer Ekadashi food only on Ekadashi days. So it was Ekadashi, and two eternal associates of Lord who are more or less in Vatsalya ras. One was Hiranya and one was Jagadish. They would live around 2 miles away from Jagannath Mishra's house. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pretended that he was sick, and he said, "I need some food from Jagadish Pandit and Hiranya Pandit." Nimai could speak. He is over a year now. Um, so it's a little bit walk, 2 miles. So Jagannath Mishra went to the house of Hiranya and Jagadish. And Hiran and Jagadish were shocked that usually on Ekadashi they don't cook much. But on this particular Ekadashi, they were inspired and they made huge feast for Lord Narayan. And they were surprised that in their heart they were thinking, how could Nimai know what is going on in our house all affair? And they remembered the prediction of Nilambar Chakravarti that this child is Sakshat Narayan. And they personally came, both of them, with huge feast to feed Lord Chaitanya. And then this is a particular pastime of two coconuts, where once the child Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised his mother with his soft hand, and his mother pretended to faint. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was quite naughty, as it is described in by Vrindavan Das Thakur. So sometime he would play with his mother, he would beat his mother, and his mother pretended that she fainted in the loving childhood pastimes. And Nimai Pandit began to cry. um, the neighboring ladies told him that if you want your mother to come up, you should bring coconuts. And they thought Nimai would go out and go and beg and do whatever it takes. He's very small, where he can go. But the child went outside the door and immediately came inside, and he has two coconuts in his hand. And they were astonished to see. Welcome back. Happy to see you. I took already. Thank you. Hare so Nimai went out and immediately he brought two coconuts, and they were like surprised, astonished where the child got the coconuts from. So these are many these wonderful pastimes have occupied certain chapters in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So we saw Nimai Pandit and two thieves, Nimai Pandit and Brahmana, Nimai Pandit and the coconut, Nimai Pandit and knowing what is going on in everyone's home and ask for prasadam from Jagadish and Hiranya. And the Lord would play and steal food from the neighbors. Just like Krishna would steal butter, Nimai will go with his friends and he would steal food. And sometimes he would fight with other children. Just like Krishna would fight with Balram, they would play this tug of war with Sri Rama and he would be defeated and other things. And likewise, in they would have their own childhood place where they would have some loving fights among each other. The children complained to Sachi Mata, very similar to Balram complaining to Mother Yashoda he ate dirt. And all the friends told Mother Yashoda, yes, he ate dirt. And Krishna said, they are all against me. They are all not happy with me. I did not eat dirt. So likewise, these children because they will get their happiness if Nimai get some kind of punishment or chastised in their childhood place. So they would go and complain Sachi Mata. Likewise, even the elders would go and complain Sachi Mata. So the children complained to Sachi Mata and she chastised Nimai. Why do you steal, fight and go to other houses? What do you not have in home? What are you getting there that I cannot provide you? Tell me, I will arrange for you. Don't do for mothers, they want their children to be trained and well behaved, but Nimai was just beyond the training. Thus rebuked, Nimai became angry and broke all the pots. So, in the Brahmanas family, especially 500 years back, the cooking was done in earthen pots. Um, um, there was no like steel utensils, you wash it and then you reuse it. Like if you go to Jagannath Puri, earthen pots, big pots. So they cook, they offer in the same earthen pots, they distribute the prasadam and they throw. So every cooking is with the new earthen pots. So whatever earthen pots was there, and Nimai started breaking them in anger. Then Sachimata pacified him by taking him on her lap, and the Lord would be ashamed admitting his fault. Then Mahaprabhu will feel bad that he hurted Sachimata by breaking all the pots in the home. So these are some of the childhood pastimes. Then Nimai teases the girls by the Ganges. And one of the favorite pastimes, just like Krishna's pastimes by Yamuna, was Nimai's pastimes by the Ganga. Similar pastimes. um, and it is okay. Let us see. कबू शिशु संगे स्नान करिला गंगाते कन्यागण आइला ताहा devata pujite. Sometimes the Lord would go with other children to bathe in Ganges, and the neighboring girls would also come there to worship various demigods. Now, um, these girls, according to the Vedic system, when small girls 10 or 12 years old would go to the bank of the Ganges to take their bath, they would specially worship Lord Shiva with prayers to get good husbands in the future. So they would worship Lord Shiva just like in Krishna Leela, the gopis would worship Katyayani, who is actually wife of Lord Shiva, form of Durga. But their prayer was to have Krishna as their husband. Here, here they would not pray for Lord Chaitanya because Lord Chaitanya purpose he is supposed to take sannyas and he married only twice. Krishna is like Krishna can satisfy all the gopis and everyone. So different leelas. So they would come to worship Lord Shiva for a good husband, and Nimai with his friends would also go to take bath in Ganga, and then he would perform some pastimes with these young girls. गंगा स्नान करी पूजा करी तेला गीला कन्यागणा मध्ये प्रभु आसिया बसीला. When the girls engage in worshipping the different demigods after bathing in the Ganges, the young lord would come there and sit among them. As they were bathing, and doing their puja, Nimai would come and sit amidst them, in between them. Addressing the girls, the Lord would say, "Worship me, and I shall give you good husbands or good benedictions. The Ganges and Goddess Durga are my maidservants. Even Lord Shiva is my maidservant, is my servant." Without the permission of the girls, the Lord would take the sandalwood pulp and smear it on his whole body, um, and put the flower garlands on his neck. Snatch and eat all the offerings of sweet meats, rice, and bananas. So they would bring some uncooked rice and bananas and some sweets to offer Shiva, and with some sandalwood pulp and some garlands. And Nimai would put the pulp on himself, put the garland on himself, and eat all the sweets. And he said, "Why are you worshipping Shiva and Durga? They are my servants. And Ganga is also my servant. Why are you worshipping them?" Um, so Prabhupada says our position of not allowing. So Prabhupada says something about demigod worship. And Prabhupada says our position of not allowing worship of many hundreds of demigods was confirmed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even in his childhood. Shri Narottam Das Thakur has sung in this connection, "Anya Deva Shray Nai Tomara Kahino Bhai Ei Bhakti Parama Karana." To become a staunch and pure devotee of Supreme Personality of Godhead without deviation, Ananya Bhak, without deviation, one should not divert his attention to the worship of demigods. Such control is a symptom of pure devotional service. In fact, Raghunath Das Goswami does not even recommend worship of Lakshmi Narayan, who is themselves the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Single pointed attention. And when these girls were worshipping Lord Shiva, he said, "I am Shiva, I am Durga." So right from the childhood, he is teaching, direct your full attention. That's chastity. Direct your full attention to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ananya Bhak, without deviation. And then when he would take the garland and sandalwood pulp and eat everything they have brought, then Nimai would become very happy. And then but the girls will be angry, and the girls angrily said, "Dear Nimai, you are like a brother to us. Please don't take our paraphernalia for worship of the demigods." The Lord replied, "My dear sisters, I give you the benediction that your husbands will be very handsome, learned, clever, young, and rich. You will each have 7 sons who will all live long and be very intelligent." Hearing this, the girls were inwardly happy, but externally rebuked the Lord. So, they were shy, so they were very young, and then they hear, "You will have 7 children and very rich and handsome and clever and intelligent husband." So they would be very pleased, but externally they would be like, "Why are you talking all these things?" Something like that. So these are nice playful pastimes between Nimai and those young girls, and he would tease them. When some of the girls fled, the Lord would say some of them would take their paraphernalia. They'll be upset with Nimai doing all these things and disturbing their worship to demigods, and they would start going away. And Nimai would cry out and say, "If you do not give me the offering, you all will have an old husband with at least 4 co-wives." Hearing this, the girls were afraid that his curse might be effective, and brought the offering before the Lord, who ate them all and blessed the girl for their satisfaction. So these were some of the pastimes that continued. Then meeting with Lakshmi Devi. The Lord is still very young. One day Lakshmi, now this is not Lakshmi, wife of Lord Narayan, but she is the source of Lakshmi, who is also expansion of Radharani. Her name is Lakshmi Priya. She is eternal consort of Lord Chaitanya. Now the Lord Chaitanya, who is um, in in eternally in spiritual world, or whom we worship, is also not the sannyas form. Like if you see our Gaunita deities, many colors, red, blue, green. So we worship the Lord before. the marriage took place. Now, as the Lord was growing, just like initially um, Krishna's pastime, Krishna's attraction was only childhood plays and cows and cats. But as he was growing, Krishna started paying more attention towards Srimati Radharani and towards the gopis, Lalita, Vishaka, and others. Um, Likewise, initially, Nimai was mainly Sakhya Ras, and then as he was growing up, he started when he met Lakshmi Priya, who is eternal consort of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They both at once developed a loving attraction among each other. So one day, Lakshmi, she is a daughter of Vallabhacharya, one of the uh, Brahmana uh, 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 in Mayapur, came to the bank of the Ganges to Lakshmi Priya. She came to the bank of the Ganges to take bath and worship the demigods for the same purpose. When she and the Lord saw each other, their natural love for each other awakened, eternal consort, just like when Lord Ramchandra saw Sita Devi, immediately the attraction was awakened. Um, so when Nimai saw Lakshmi Priya, their natural love for each other was awakened and they were mutually attracted. Although it was covered by childhood emotions, very young, but the attraction began right from Poganda Leela. Um, Under the pretext of demigod worship, they manifested their feelings. So she would come um, to worship Lord Shiva to get the husband, but her main purpose was to see Nimai. And Nimai would go and tease everybody, but she would be looking for Lakshmi Priya. This was the actually the first marriage that happens in a very early age of Nimai Pandit. The Lord told her. So when she would come to worship demigods, the Lord would say, just worship me, for I am the Supreme One. Then certainly you will get the benedictions you desire. Thus Lakshmi immediately worshipped him, and she was just waiting for the command. You say you worship him, anyways, in her heart she would accept Nimai. So she immediately gave up the worship of Lord Shiva and she would start worshipping Nimai, who was still a small child of a similar age, with sandalwood pulp, flowers, and offered prayers to Nimai. The Lord then began to smile and recited a verse. So this is one of the verse um, Krishna told gopis, and um, 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 this is the month of Katyayani. Katyayani, in this month, the gopis they um, um, 1 month of worship and austerity to goddess Durga or Yogamaya in the original form to have Krishna as their husband. And Krishna showed um, that he has accepted their benediction by stealing their clothes. Uh, um, that's how he showed his mercy. And then he told them, next year, during Sharad Purnima, I will fulfill all your desires. So next year they were waiting, and when Krishna played flute at Vamsivat, they all ran, leaving all their engagements to for the pleasure of Krishna. So after Katyayani Vrat, Krishna told the gopis, "My dear gopis, I accept your desire to have me as your husband and thus worship me. Your desire deserves to be fulfilled." So Krishna knows in the heart. Krishna knows the true purpose of Katyayani Vrata. Those who are very advanced, they also perform Katyayani Vrata during this month which is going on. Very auspicious. It's the month right after the day Kartik month ends, Katyayani Vrata begins. Um, and when Lakshmi Priya worship Lord Chaitanya, um, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu repeated this verse that I accept you, all your desire. I accept you as I know your desire is to have me as your husband, and thus you are worshipping me, and I will fulfill your desire. So that was the loving pastimes between Nimai Pandit and Lakshmi Priya. Um, uh, Thus, they expressed their feelings to each other and then returned home. So, this was the daily activities in the childhood. Who can understand the grave pastimes of Lord Chaitanya? And then Nimai, some amazements of Nimai's parents. Then what happens? Chaitanya chapalya dekhi prema sarva jana sachi jaganathe dekhi dena olahana. When the neighboring people saw the naughty behavior of Lord Chaitanya, out of love for him, they lodged complaint with Sachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra. So many pastimes are basically not described here by Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami for the reasons we are aware. Like he would not only play with these girls, but he would go and if some Brahmanas are worshipping Shiva, he would sit on their shoulders and say, I am Shiva, worship me. Or he would go underneath the Ganges water and he would pull their dhoti and then they would be kind of embarrassed and they would scold Nimai Pandit. So many things Nimai Pandit would do by the Ganges and all of their friends would be together and they would love it. They would love Nimai just like in Krishna Leela, and they would go and complain. So Jagannath Mishra is a Brahmana of a high caste, well respected, and all these complaints would really cause a lot of anxiety to Jagannath Mishra. So when the neighboring people saw the naughty behavior of Lord Chaitanya out of love for him, it said Deki Prema Sarvajana. They were filled with love for Nimai Pandit because he was so cute. So out of love for him, they lodged complaints with Sachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra. Ekadina Sachi Devi Putre Bhatsiya Dhari Bare Gela Putra Gela Palaiya. One day, Mother Sachi went to catch her son, wanting to rebuke him. So she wanted to chastise Nimai. She was determined. But he fled from the spot. Although he is the maintainer of the entire universe, once the Lord sat upon some rejected pots in the pit where the remnants of food were thrown after the pots have been used for cooking. So, like you see in a picture, here Nimai Pandit, she wanted to chastise, she came and Nimai Pandit ran and he sat in this. This is the area where all pots, these pots were actually used for cooking for Narayan. After cooking they are discarded here. This is a Vedic culture, very nice. Everything is done by the mud only, so there is no need of anything. And the thing with this cooking pots is um, very soon this is simply mud and water, it will merge into mud and water, so there is no recycling or millions of years of this indeed, no need of all these things, very natural lifestyle. This is a lifestyle that goes on eternally in spiritual world also. This was our Vedic culture. Sachiyasi Asi means she came near. Sachiyasi kahe kene asuchi chunila. Why are you living? Why are you sitting in such an unclean place? Asuchi chunila. Ganga Snana Karayai Apavitra Haila, you have become contaminated, Apavitra. Immediately go and take bath. When Mother Sachi saw her boy sitting on the rejected pot, she protested, why have you touched these untouchable pots? You have now become impure. Go and bathe in the Ganges. Hearing this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught his mother about absolute knowledge. Although amazed by this, his mother forced him to take a bath. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions in his commentary on Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sachi Mata, why are you considering it unclean? Um, these are the pots, Mahapots, in which cooking for Lord Narayan is done. How can it be considered unclean? And Sachi Mata was amazed by small boy, his philosophical conclusion and truths. And she didn't hear anything, and she said, "All right, all right, all right, go and take bath in Ganga." Um, and Sachi Mata, sometimes taking her son with her, sometimes Sachi Mata, I will say in my own words, just because there are some slides to go. Um, Sometimes Sachi Mata would sit with Nimai Pandit on his lap, and she would see many demigods assembling. Hidden, some sounds are coming as if they are offering prayers. And she would tell Jagannath Mishra. And another time, Sachi Mata told Nimai Pandit, go and call your father. And as Nimai was walking, Sachi Mata would hear ankle bells, and there are no anklets in the foot of Nimai. He is barefoot, but she is hearing ankle bells. So these were some of the um surprising things. And when she would tell Jagannath Mishra what all she is seeing and where is the sound coming, Jagannath Mishra would say, "Well, don't worry." Um, 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 and he would say, "Let there be all good fortune to Vishwambara," and that's how he would neglect such mystical pastimes. And another time, Jagannath Mishra got a dream, and in this dream, I'm rephrasing it in my words. He got a way. Nimai was naughty, and he would do all these things by the Ganges, and Jagannath Mishra he chastised Nimai, and he spoke about morality, things to do. He would play with the girls, and the young girls would complain to Sachi Mata that your child is eating all the sweets and taking the garland and sandalwood pulp. And Sachi Mata would tell Jagannath Mishra. And like young boys, young girls, so what will the society say? They're very much concerned. So Jagannath Mishra chastised, and he um, taught him about education morality. Then that night, when Jagannath Mishra slept, a Brahmana came to him and he said, do you know whom are you chastising? Um, um, he may be a Siddha Purush, he may be a great personality. And Jagannath Mishra in the dream he said, well, whoever he is, it is a duty of a father to chastise and educate the child. And the Brahmana told angrily in the dream, this child may be the source of all education, a Siddha Purusha. Then what is the use of your insignificant education when the child is, all the education is coming from your child? And Jagannath Mishra said, even if he's Narayan, he's still my son. And I am supposed to train him and educate him. And because Jagannath Mishra was filled with Vishuddha Vatsalya Bhav, um, the Brahmana became very pleased by seeing the loving mood of Jagannath Mishra towards Nimai Pandit, and he would left. And then Jagannath Mishra would get up and he would think, what was that? And he would share with Sachi Mata and other relatives and Lamba Chakravarti, and they all will be astonished what is going on. So these are all pastimes of ankle bells or demigods or these dreams that were coming again and again in many different forms that would amaze Sachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra. Everything in their home that was happening was sort of mystical. In this way, Gaurahari performed his childhood pastimes and day after day increased the pleasure of his parents. Dine Dine Pita Matar Badaya Ananda, and increasing the love of uh, Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra day by day towards Nimai. Now, um, uh, a short presentation is remaining. Um, um, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has grown up. He is over 5 years old. These were his childhood pastime when he was old enough, and he would do all this going to Ganges and disturb everyone, but he would not have any education. He would not go to school. After some days, Jagannath Mishra inaugurated the primary education of his son by performing the Hate Khadi ceremony, where Hate Khadi is like they give the child a big chalk, and where it's a ceremony, invite brahmanas, worship Narayan, and he is going to school, kind of. Within a very few days, the Lord learned all the letters and combinations of letters, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very expert, and it is described like usually when a child see A, to for the child to write A takes lot of time. or very broken, or somebody has to hold the child's hand and the teacher has to show them you do like this. So there is this detailed training. But Mahaprabhu, anything he would see and he would just repeat it as it is, and anything he would hear once, he would remember everything. So he was kind of yet his interest was not in school. uh, his interest, even after Nimai started going to school, he would still uh, go to Ganga and tease the girls and play with Brahmanas and disturb everybody. Or one place, Gopas are bathing, another place, Gopis are bathing, and he would exchange their clothes. And Gopis come out and they would see dhoti and kurta and they don't know how to cover themselves. And Gopas would come out and they would see sari and kumkum and all this paraphernalia, and they were very ashamed to wear sari. Brahmanas wearing sari and going to their homes, and they had no choice, so they would do that and they would very much embarrassed. So likewise, Nimai Pandit, these were daily pastimes. And even after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started as Nimai Pandit going to school, he would go and uh, he would bathe in Ganga, do whole day, same thing. And in the evening, he would take the school bag and he would dry his hairs and wear tilak as if it was not wet and dry the clothes. He would make all arrangements and come back as if very religiously he went to the school. So these, and they would complain to Jagannath Mishra that your child is putting you under illusion. He goes to school, he never goes to school. He comes and he plays with Brahmanas and girls and disturbs everyone. And Jagannath Mishra wanted to catch him red handed. So he started walking once. Um, um, Once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, after 2 hours, he would go behind in the Ganges to see if Nimai is there and chastise him. But the friends of Nimai were very, very active. They would update Lord Chaitanya that your father is looking for you and he's coming to Ganges, and he would run away. So these were some of the um, childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. But as he grew up, he became more and more sincere and he started slowly, slowly taking interest in education. So the pastimes of the Lord during his Poganda age, which are between 5 and 10 years old, are very extensive. His education was his chief occupation, and after that, his very beautiful marriage took place. This also took place during this short period within 10 years when uh, the first marriage of Lord Chaitanya, which is to Lakshmi Priya. So when the Lord was studying grammar at the place of Ganga Das Pandit. So previously, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions, he had some other teachers, and like starting from 2, 3, 4 years of age, you start teaching your child something like UKG, LKG, whatever they call it during that time. Till 5 years of age, they teach children something, but official education starts after this ceremony, Hathakadi ceremony. So previously they were learning something, but then as he grew up, Ganga Das Pandit was a very, he was Durvasa Muni in Krishna Leela. Um, a spiritual teacher in Krishna Lila. So he came as Sandipani Muni, and he came as grammar teacher Gangadas Pandit, um, and he became the official teacher of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu started studying grammar. um, he would now let's read the purport first because that is important before we read the rest of the translation. Anyone serious about studying the Sanskrit language should first learn grammar. There is something called Sanskrit grammar. People may try to study the Sanskrit, but if they don't know Sanskrit grammar, they cannot understand. Even if they understand, it's very superficial learning of Sanskrit. But if you scrutinizingly study the grammar, Prabhupada says, which takes to a serious student at least 12 years. to study Sanskrit grammar, then the whole Sanskrit language becomes comes in your grip and becomes very easy to understand. So Mahaprabhu would study first Sanskrit grammar, and that would help one to have a complete hold of Sanskrit. Like many people in their childhood, they study Sanskrit, but because they don't scrutinizingly study the grammar of Sanskrit, they don't have that hold. Like just like we can speak English and Hindi so fluently, even after studying Sanskrit, we cannot. It's like very broken and putting lot of emphasis. Okay, what does it really mean? Something like that. So that grammar teacher was Lord Chaitanya, was Gangadas Pandit. So he would immediately learn grammar rules and definitions by heart simply by hearing them once. These grammatical rules, Prabhupada says, are very, very complex. And that's why he says it may be a small book, but for a person to understand, it takes his Prabhupada says a serious student 12 years. But Mahaprabhu, just by seeing them once, he understood and he learned and he could apply all these grammatical rules. In fact, he became so scholarly that he would defeat and challenge in grammatical rules everybody, even Murari Gupta, and everybody would run away because nobody could challenge Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in grammatical rules. He soon became an expert on Panji Tika. So just like when you learn anything, you have certain authoritative books. So Panji Tika was a commentary on grammar, a complex book. If you can understand, you kind of have an expertise on Sanskrit grammar. So he became so expert that he could win over all other students. And we see that next week that during his youth age, he was just 12, 13 years old and he started his own school there. And By this time, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit was still very young, his elder brother decided to take sannyas. Jagannath Mishra wanted to arrange marriage for his elder son. They would get married in a younger age that time. Hearing of this, Vishwarup became afraid. Vishwarup, Chaitanya Bhagavat describes, every day would go to the house of Advaita Acharya, and along with Murari Gupta and others, and they would do Krishna Bhakti. Vishwarup has lot of interest in uh, Krishna and self-realization. Um, Jagannath Mishra was afraid, and he knew that his son is taking much lesser interest in grammar and Sanskrit, and much more interest in Krishna Bhakti. So he had this fear, so he wanted to get him married. But Vishwarup was already way beyond, and he immediately left home and started walking towards holy places, and he took sannyas. um, Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata, they were very much aggrieved. Now onwards, we will see the pastime will become more and more intense. Right now, it was more of playful, joking childhood pastimes. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted, he said, भाला हैला विश्व रूप संन्यास करीला पितृकुला मातृकुला दुई उधारीला. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after Vishwarup took sannyas, Mahaprabhu tried to console Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra. My dear mother and father, the Lord said, it is very good that Vishwarup has accepted the sannyas order, for thus he has delivered both the father's family and his mother's family. And this is something happened in my life also when I decided to take up this ashram. Uh, my father and mother were highly aggrieved, and my brother took care of them. That so fortunate, and he would kind of train them on every single day. And I feel that I did not have to go through any stress because at home he handled everything so nicely. So I could very much relate to this pastime. And now it's a nice thing taking sannyas. Um, but parents will be aggrieved. Prabhupada would say, if you have multiple children, if you have some people will have 5 children, 6 children, Prabhupada say, give one son to me so that I can spread this message of Krishna consciousness all over the world. Prabhupada would say like So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that is very good. He has delivered both father and mother. He is supreme personality of Godhead. They are eternal associates of the Lord. But in this earthly leela, he said he is trying to console them. Amito kariba toma dohara sevana suniya santushta haila pita mata mana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu assured his parents that he would serve them, and thus the mind of his father and mother was satisfied. He said, "Okay, my elder brother has taken sannyas. I am there. I will get married, and I will serve both of you. I will never leave you both." Um, One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate betel nuts. Now, betel nuts are kind of intoxicants. Like in the pan, they put and they make the mouth little red. It is described betel nuts have a spiritual significance. It comes from a tree. It's a natural substance. But Prabhupada said Mahaprabhu would eat it. Even there is description of Krishna and Radha eating betel nuts. And sometimes Radharani will take the betel nut from the mouth of Krishna and eat it. So there are many descriptions. Even we saw Nityananda Prabhu when he gave darshan to Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, who then he told him to go to Vrindavan. Nityananda Prabhu was also eating betel nuts. So in spiritual word, this is taken. But in this material world, the way this betel nut manifest, it's considered an intoxicant, and the devotee should not take it. And Prabhupada says, don't try to copy Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the purport he says. So one day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate betel nuts offered to the deity, and Prabhupada says even Krishna can eat it, we should not eat. So like that, because Krishna eats it in spiritual world. But there is a different characteristics, different flavor, and different behavior of how it exists there. But for us, the form, we don't accept it. But they acted as an intoxicant and he fell down to the ground unconscious. So one time, Mahaprabhu, he ate betel nut and he was kind of reeling his head and he fell down. This is his pastime, Prabhupada says. And then he saw a dream. After his father and mother sprinkled water on his mouth with great haste, the Lord revived and said something wonderful they had never heard before. So Mahaprabhu told, the Lord said, Vishwarup took me away from here and he requested me to accept the sannyas order. Now, as you see in a picture, father and mother, Sachi Mata Jagannath Mishra, very concerned. And Nimai Pandit just woke up, and on the top, you see there is a sannyasi, and he is carrying Lord Chaitanya by the hand. So, in the dream, uh, um, Vishwarup took Nimai along with him and he said, you also take sannyas. He accepted me to take sannyas. I replied to Vishwarup. Um, he is telling to his father and mother, I have my helpless Anath Pita Mata. I have my helpless father and mother, and also I am but a child. Um, Ami Balaka Sanyasera Kiba Jani Katha. What do I know about sannyas? I am a Balaka. What do I know about the sannyas order of life? I am just a child. Um, Grahastha Haya Kariba Pita Matara Sevan. And he said, I will enter into Grahastha Ashram and I will perform service to mother and father. Iya aite tushta habena Lakshmi Narayan. In this way, I will please Lakshmi and Narayan. So Mahaprabhu knew what he is going to do, but Mahaprabhu, time the circumstances, is consoling Jagannath Mission and Sachi Mata because they were very aggrieved that Vishwarup has taken sannyas. तबे विश्वरूप इहा पठाइला मोरे माता के कोई यो कोटि कोटि नमस्कारे. Then Vishwarup dropped Nimai Pandit back to Navadvip and he told, give my koti koti namaskar to my mata, to Sachi, to Mother Sachi. It is said that even if a person takes sannyas, um, uh, he still has to bow down to his mother. He even he doesn't need to bow down to the father, and the whole world bows down to sannyasi. But still, when a sannyasi meets the mother, he should bow down to the mother. That is the position of mother. So Vishwarup told um, 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 Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that you pay millions of obeisances to my mother Sachi. Now, this is the last section, last few slides, is the Lord's marriage, which is at the end of Poganda Leela. Before next week, we begin with the youth pastime. Um, um, Kata Dina Rahi Mishra Gela Paraloka, Mata Putra Duhara, Barila Hridhi Shoka. After some days, Jagannath Mishra passed away from this world to the transcendental world, and both mother and son were very much aggrieved in their heart. Um, Soon after, Vishwarup took sannyas. Um, Jagannath Mishra passed away. So, for the Mother Sachi, it was quite heartbreaking. First, the son took sannyas, and then um, her husband passed away. And sooner later, even Nimai Pandit will also take sannyas. So the life of Sachi Mata and the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu moving forward more and more becomes more and more intense and kind of serious life. So both Nimai and Sachi Mata were very much aggrieved, and Nimai is not yet married. Friends and relatives came there to pacify Lord Chaitanya and his mother. Nimai Pandit is still within 10 years old. It's just Poganda Leela going on. Then Lord Chaitanya, even though he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, executed the rituals for his dead father according to the Vedic system. So he performed the last rite, but we will see he went to Gaya later on. He did not go to Gaya. After many years, he went to Gaya. On the way, he met Ishwar Puri, and after that he became the transformation came, and then soon after that whole night kirtans, and then sannyas, and then madhya lila. Up till sannyas, everything is described in next two chapters, and madhya lila onwards is post sannyas pastimes. After some days the Lord thought, I did not take sannyas, and since I am remaining at home, it is my duty to act as a grahasthashram. In fact, in the scriptures it is already mentioned that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would get married and then he would take sannyas. This is already predicted. So Mahaprabhu was thinking, now since I'm not us, I have not taken sannyas. I am at home, so I should get married. So Prabhupada used to say, don't be in between. Either um, become a renounced order or become married. Stay in a fixed ashram here or there. Um, Without a wife, Lord Chaitanya considered there is no meaning to householder life. Household means wife. Thus, the Lord decided to marry. And one day, when the Lord was coming back from school, he accidentally saw the daughter of Vallabhacharya, which was Lakshmi Priya. And Mahaprabhu was in an aggrieved situation with her mother. And as he was coming down, he was taking studies very seriously, grammar, and those playful pastimes and other things are not there anymore. And as he was coming back, he saw Lakshmi Priya, and immediately that separation and that love between Nimai and Lakshmi Priya awakened to a full blossom. Um, um, when the Lord and Lakshmi Devi met, their relationship awakened, having already been settled, and coincidentally, the marriage maker Vanamali came to Sri Sachi Mata. So there was a marriage maker. Nowadays, these marriage maker are many websites or many systems. But that time, a Brahmana in Navadvip, Vanamali used to do that. He was formerly Vishwamitra, who negotiated the marriage of Lord Ramchandra. Vishwamitra took Ramchandra to Mithila after fighting with the um, um, bad memory, uh, Marich and his mother and other demons and killing them. Then he took to Mithila, and there he arranged a marriage with Sita. And it is the same Brahmana who negotiated the marriage of Lord Krishna with Rukmini. Rukmini gave the letter to Brahmana. Rukmini's father Bhishmak wanted her to get married to Krishna, but Rukmi was very envious of Krishna. So he forced his sister. She has 6 or 7 brothers. but Rukmini was the eldest, so he forced Rukmini to marry to Shishupal. Shishupal came, huge celebration, and she sent to Brahmana, I shall not live if I cannot marry to Krishna. And the Brahmana reached there, and Krishna made the Brahmana sit on the chariot, and Krishna was very pleased. Krishna also heard about Rukmini, and he was very attracted to Rukmini, eternal associates of Dwarka Leela. And overnight, it was over 1,000 miles. Overnight, Krishna with his 4 horses in the chariot, um, um, he and the Brahmana came back to um, the kingdom of Rukmini and stole Rukmini away. So the same Brahmana who came as Vanamali to arrange the marriage of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lakshmi Priya. Following the indications of Sachi Devi, Varnamali Ghataka arranged the marriage, and thus in due course the Lord married Lakshmi Devi. No detail in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but in Chaitanya Bhagavat, huge money was spent, lot of celebration in detail about how they were married. Uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lakshmi Priya. Vrindavan Das Thakur has elaborately described all these pastimes of the Lord's early age. What I have given is but a condensed presentation of the same pastimes. Rupa Raghunatha Padayara As Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahi Krishna Das. So we saw starting from childhood, Brahmana story, coconut story, Ekadashi story, many things. Um, Going to Ganga, playing with the girls, disturbing the Brahmanas, lot of complaints. Then he started going to school, and he started taking education more seriously. Um, um, he was attracted from his childhood age to Lakshmi Priya Devi. Then Vishwarup took sannyas. He consoled his father and mother. Vishwarup left. Then Jagannath Mishra passed away. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu married Lakshmi Priya. And next couple of weeks, we will cover rest of the pastime of the youth till sannyas. Okay, so that's all for today. Uh, okay, so we will end here. Vancha kalpa tarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya evacha पतितानां पावनेभ्य वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णवेंद्र की जय. श्रीला प्रभुपाद. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.